Okay, so for part 2 of our video, it focuses on the book titled Building Literacy and Social Studies, Strategies for Improving Comprehension and Critical Thinking by Donna Ogle, Ron Klemp, and Bill McBride.
So this book is separated into two parts. The first part provides research and strategies on reading processes, fostering engaged learning, vocabulary development for older students, classroom organization, and civic engagement. Part 2 provides specific literacy strategies for students in the area of textbook literacy, primary and secondary documents, and newspapers and magazines literacy. And the last part of the book is the appendices, where it provides unit examples, graphic organizers, and resources for teachers.
Social studies is to teach students to read and think critically so that they will become informed and engaged citizens. This quote is from chapter 1 of the book titled Reading Social Studies Texts, and we chose this quote because we feel like it really guides the whole entire purpose of the book.
2, titled Fostering Engaged Learning in Social Science Classrooms, struggles with the challenge of how do we get students to be engaged in history, social science, and ensure that they're doing more than just reading as part of that engagement. Some of the strategies to keep our students engaged in the subject is to connect the content to what they already know, link content with their lives and contemporary issues, engage with peers in constructing ideas and points of view, involve all modes of learning as well. Also, making the students' ideas and thinking more central is important as well, like when we do KWL charts. Also, having students question what they are reading and challenge the author is a great way for them to feel that they are a part of the class.
Next chapter, chapter 4, focuses on organizing a class for democratic engagement. So essentially the classroom should be an example of how a democracy works, and some of the ways you can do this is by implementing cooperative literacy, so organizing classrooms into mutually interdependent cooperative teams of students, which allows teachers to show students how communities work. In addition to this, you can use performance organizational design systems, or pods. And pods are basically heterogeneous groups of 4 to 5 students each, and they work together throughout the semester, and they rotate groups essentially every 4 to 6 weeks. And within these pods, the teacher can do what is called a power walk. And a power walk is intended to empower students by giving ongoing feedback on criteria and expected behavior, and as well as there's positive interdependence within pods. And this makes group members realize each must contribute for the sake of the other students. Also, the mediation conference provides an opportunity for the teacher and student to explore the behavioral aspects of a problem, and it's a dialogue-based strategy that guides the students' thinking to help them solve the observed problem.
Next chapter, we learn that it takes more than just having students look up words in a dictionary for them to learn new vocabulary. The more they hear a new word, the more they will have a better understanding of what that word means. Here are some ineffective ways that do not work in helping students understand new words. Looking up words in the dictionary and isolating phonics instruction. Those are not strategies that are known to work. Some effective strategies that do work in helping students gain vocabulary are having them read independently, activate their prior knowledge, teaching context clues, and structural analysis of their text. There's also a 3-tier method to help you as a teacher pick out which words are most important for them to understand and learn in your unit that you're teaching.
So the last chapter of part 1 of the book is chapter 5, titled Promoting Civic Engagement. So it is crucial for the future health of American democracy that all young people, including those from groups who are usually marginalized, be knowledgeable, engaged in their communities and in politics, and committed to the public good. This is from chapter 5, Promoting Civic Engagement. And this chapter, it discusses basically how important schools are in promoting civic education. So schools play a very important role, and schools are communities where young people learn to interact, to argue, and work together with others, which is an important foundation for future citizenship. In addition, the National Council for the Social Studies, also known as NCSS, acknowledges the place civic education holds in its programs and in schools. Some of the ways to help students connect with their learning in the classroom to their communities and the world at large include community experiences, such as service learning and community study, which help students build deep connections and increase their desire to become involved. In addition to that, projects structured around governmental bodies, whether they are real or simulated, help students develop a deep understanding of civic responsibility and participatory government. So the next chapter is where part 2 of the book begins, and this includes chapters 6, 7, and 8, and these chapters include research-based, hands-on, practical strategies for teaching students to comprehend the materials they read. Specifically, chapter 6 focuses on strategies for textbook literacy, and it includes many different strategies, as you can see here, that we can have students use to help them understand textbooks. So the first includes previewing text, making preview maps, also making sure to activate students' prior knowledge, determining main ideas using pair questions and answers, organizing information, making 3-column notes, understanding maps and recognizing key map terms and features, and interpreting graphs such as pie, line, and bar graphs. Also, having students analyze charts and synthesizing data from these charts, as well as summarizing key concepts using a Freyer model. So when using a textbook, it's important that we determine what is important from the textbook instead of teaching every passage in the book, and also making sure that the information is presented in an organized fashion in order to kind of create a sense of continuity to prevent confusing students. It's also important for students to understand maps, graphs, and charts so that they utilize them to help them understand the entire text.
So one of the beginning strategies for reading primary and secondary sources, in the book it refers that there are 3 main ways that students and teachers can actually do this. The first way is interpreting primary source documents, the second is answering document-based questions, and the third one is by evaluating internet sources. So the way that a teacher in interpreting primary source documents, they can have students ask basic questions in their pods to help them understand the documents. And students, before they read a document, they can examine the document to figure out the 5 W's, which is the who, what, when, where, why is this document being written. Answering document-based questions, the teacher would ask the entire class the big questions about the document. And students can use a DAG or a DAG graphic organizer, also known as the document analysis grid, to help students answer the big questions about a certain document. And finally, in evaluating internet sources, the teacher needs to have the students verify the websites that they're edited and they are validated. And students can use a grid for evaluation internet sources accuracy to validate websites' validity.
Chapter 8 describes strategies for newspaper and magazine literacy. So, included in these strategies is understanding newspaper articles, and in which the book provides a graphic organizer in order to understand newspaper articles. There's also analyzing magazine articles, and in connection with this, there's a KWL Plus chart that is the key strategy in helping students analyze magazine articles. Also, supporting opinions in editorials with an opinion support frame, and reading and analyzing essays with an accompanying graphic organizer for reading and analyzing an essay as well. It's also important for students to identify bias, specifically looking at loaded language, and identify propaganda techniques in political ads. And students can do this by using propaganda or looking at propaganda and persuasion techniques to identify the propaganda techniques that are featured in political ads. And in addition to this, analyzing political cartoons and analysis using an analysis tool for a political cartoon. There's also 3 appendices included at the end of the book. Appendix A includes a unit example, Appendix B a graphic organizer, or many graphic organizers, and resources for vocabulary development, as well as Appendix C, which includes a civic engagement quiz and resources for promoting civic engagement.
Our connections to the edTPA from this book. So in Task 1 planning, we're going to use inquiry-based lessons and primary source analysis for our assignments or for our segments. In Task 2, in our instruction, we're going to make sure that our students are using vocabulary development and academic language that we learn in the strategies. And in Task 3, in the assessments, we're going to provide a plethora of useful strategies that allow students to construct meaning of history socialized content that simultaneously develop literacy skills.
Concludes our presentation on literacy in history, social science, and the edTPA.
Thanks for listening!